Hey guys, welcome back to another Sunday special. Real quick, if you're new to the channel, every Sunday I basically put out a video talking about trade setups, analysis, and things to look out for in the week ahead, specifically in the Forex market. We're also going to take a look at gold and a couple others. We've got some stuff on our watch list today for sure. I want to talk about the dollar, try and cover the euro, the pound. We will definitely get to gold as well, and trying to get to as many as I can fit into this video. So we've got a lot of stuff moving here. There's a lot of setups and things that are coming into the market, especially with this recent move on the US dollar, which we are definitely going to talk more about. Before I jump into the technicals, let me just do this really quick. So let's talk about the week ahead. This is a cool site called Trading Economics, and I just wanted to talk about this. So it says it'll be a busy week with the US jobs report. You've got NFP this week, which is a big one, and worldwide manufacturing and services PMIs providing an update on the economic recovery as well as supply constraints and price pressures. So that's a load full of stuff, but there's a lot of news and stuff that could be market moving this week. Other important releases include GDP figures for India, Brazil, Australia, and Canada, monetary policy decisions from the RBA and the RBI, and inflation for the euro area. So you've got a very busy week. Things could very much be moving all around. So keep an eye on that on your forexfactory.com or wherever you get your economic calendar. You can keep an eye on when those releases are coming out. But again, has the potential to really move things like the US dollar with that NFP news that will be coming on Friday. So you can actually see that this week we had a little attempt from buyers to push price past this level of resistance. And ultimately, what I thought was going to be a straight shot up to this point ultimately failed really hard. We saw price basically give back all of its gains on the day on Friday. So this is the daily chart. So we saw a spike on the dollar just before fading back down. So that has some implications that we're going to talk about on the gold market and some of the other crosses with the US dollar. Now, before I get too far, I do want to remind you guys, this is the last chance for our gold membership, which is 40% off. If you are watching these videos and you're supporting the content, this is your chance to get into our private Discord where I share my trade ideas, as well as a couple other analysts that we have sharing their trades. We have some not scalpers. We have some day traders, we have some swing traders, and all sorts of different stuff that might be interesting or helpful too. We also do live coaching webinars with a guy named Joe Barreca out of Australia. He's a really good coach for some of our members, answers questions, etc., things like that. We also have an open chat room, and there's a whole bunch of other things. If you enjoy my content, if you like the way I trade, and you want to work closer to myself and the rest of our community, the best way for you to do that is to join our Discord. There is a link down below in the description with a promo code if you would like to join that. Like I said, I don't do 40% off very often. We decided to do that just as sort of a kickoff into the summer, if you will. If you guys are looking to join, now is your best chance to do so for the cheapest price. Also, one thing that comes with the membership, a new feature, is we actually just started releasing this weekly report for yearly and gold members. Now, this is kind of cool because this is like an example of the euro. So they actually the report goes through like 10 different charts, but one of them is the euro. You can see we try and cover what's going on for specifically the euro for the upcoming week. We do this each week. We have a research team that puts this stuff together, and you can see, we've got some latest economic news, upcoming economic news. We have main refinancing rate, monetary policy statement, like we just saw, and the European Central Bank statement on Tuesday, June 10th. So something around the corner. And yeah, so we talk about targets, trade setups, etc., our overall bias, and things like that. So that is something that is also available to the group. I just wanted to make that aware to those of you guys who are already members. You can find that information in the Discord. We've been dropping files there for yearly and gold members. Okay, so back to the dollar. Like I said, some very interesting news around the corner. If things come out very positive for the dollar, this is going to be a very pivotal spot, because you've got this thing at a long-term low. On the daily chart, you've got levels here, right? And now we are testing that to see if that's going to hold again. If it does hold again, watch out for things like this. If we start to see structure breaking to the upside, we could see a bottoming out dollar. And so that is going to be heavily dependent, however, on the news for this upcoming week. Let's start jumping into some of the actual currency pairs, though, and we'll talk about the euro against the dollar, which had a very interesting week. Very back and forth here on the euro. But I'm going to go ahead and say that I think that the dollar came out as the loser in this case. I think the euro held its own very well here, maintaining the gains that it made last week. So we saw this really good move to the upside in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so, and then this chopping back and forth this week until finally we just saw, buyers able to actually hold this low. And this does keep us, like we saw in that report that I pulled up. Frank and I, we put that together, and the idea there is that that reiteration of a push up to that 1.235 seems like something that we could see coming in the next few weeks. Now, again, heavily dependent on whether the news supports a stronger euro and a weaker dollar, but that is something that is on the horizon. And from a technical perspective, looks like we could hold this area. So retests of that low sometime this week could be an opportunity to look to go long on the euro. As always, these are not videos where I'm telling you what to do with your money or signals or anything like that. These are just my ideas and analysis, but I am long biased on the euro dollar. I think it does have that potential to push up to the 1.235. We'll speak quickly just about another euro pair that I've been focused on, which is the euro yen. This thing just pushing past all sorts of resistance. And this is actually an area where I took some trades on the euro Aussie, or sorry, the euro yen. And I missed out on the biggest part, which is a little bit frustrating. I ended up taking a long trade here, held it through this portion, and then ultimately stopped out somewhere around here. So I missed this second wave, but there might have been some pullback opportunities. Either ways, going forward, I do like the idea of looking to get long on the euro yen on a pullback. So if we see that this week, if we see the euro get some weakness, I still like it over the yen unless something drastic changes here. I would like to look for opportunities to try and get long on this euro yen. It's in a nice upward trend. This is the 4-hour chart. Like I said, you've got this upward trend here. Things seem to be good. And until this really breaks structure, I'd probably be more interested in looking for just pullback plays, continuing this thing higher on the 4-hour and the daily chart. So that's what I'm looking at on euro yen. We'll switch over to pound dollar today just to get an idea of what's going on with the pound. I've been covering this in the live streams. I am bullish on the pound. I would like to jump into this thing. I think that right now the data and the stuff that's coming out about the pound supports a higher price movement. But the big thing that I'm waiting on from a technical analysis perspective is, can we properly break that 1.42? If we get something like this, if we see a nice green candle that pushes us right past the highs, I will lock on to the pound dollar and I'll be looking for opportunities to buy a pullback. So for example, if we saw something like this, after I know those are terrible candles, but you get the idea. I'd be looking for that continuation higher on the pound dollar. So maybe if I draw it, it'll come true, but I'm looking for that pound dollar to continue, but I really want to see it break that 1.42. Why does that have any significance? Well, if we back out, that was the high of this year. Back in February, we put in 1.4236. So if we can break and close above this zone here, I would love to look to go long on the pound dollar on any sort of pullback. So that's something that I am watching out for. Again, you get the moving averages looking pretty nice on this one as well. Nice little upward trend, and any sort of sign of continuation I will be looking to get involved with. That's what I'm waiting for on the pound. We'll take a look at gold now, XAU USD. So gold is really profiting off of this weak dollar that we've seen in the last several weeks. A lot of concerns around inflation and the Fed's reluctance to raise rates right now, or willingness to talk about that, being a little bit stubborn there. And that actually favors the gold market in some way or another, arguably because you've got this scenario where, okay, if they're not going to raise rates and the dollar is high in inflation and inflation doesn't go away, we could see gold really profit from that. We could see extensions up to 1950 and beyond, just off of that weak US dollar. But again, very dependent this week on what the news brings. Let me give you a bearish scenario just in case the dollar gets very strong or we get talks about something. Let's say the Fed comes out and says, hey, we're going to look to raise rates at some point. We're going to bite the bullet and just do it. That could be very bearish for gold, right? So that would be something to consider. But let me also point out, before I go too far, the reason I am also very bullish on this thing is if we head over to the website, a1trading.com, and we go over to the COT reports. This is free data that you guys can use anytime you want. Head over to gold and take a look at the COT reports, and we'll see the latest data. You can see that the big guys are buying this thing up. So this is the COT data. It comes out each week. You get Tuesday's data on Friday of each week. It's a little bit delayed, but the idea is the same. We get to a picture into what the big players are doing, and you can see that gold is seemingly getting bought up by, or it is being bought up by some of the institutional traders out there. So that is a good sign for the buyers out there. And until that really changes directions, gold seems like a buy to me if there's opportunities for pullback. There might have been this. If you caught that intra-week, then congrats. Very nice move back to 1885 or so before rallying here into the close of the week. Let me talk to you guys about some scenarios also for, like I said, the bearish side. If we see structure start to break down and you start to see something really bullish for the dollar, we could see opportunities like this. But again, this overall bullish train for the gold market is making me way more interested in being long on this sort of thing rather than trying to short it. So again, for me, the biggest scenario would be, even if this broke, I'd be looking for opportunities to try and get long at a discounted rate. You've got some nice pullback opportunities. It's just a big green mover here. It's like a big train on the gold market. You can see, pullback to the 0.5 or the 50% retracement. It could be interesting going into this week. So if we see some dollar strength, if the dollar takes a turn, something like this, that would be a very clean setup to me, something that I would be interested in looking to do. Probably, like I said, to continue up to that 1950 target that we've talked about on streams multiple times. By the way, if you're not tuning into the streams, come hang out with us sometime. It is Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. I go live and talk about the markets, talk about setups, and just any trades that I'm in at the time. So with that said, that's gold. Again, keeping an eye on that 1950 mark. With all of this bearishness on the US dollar, until that really changes, I only see myself looking, if anything, to be long biased on gold. I have some gold in my stock market portfolio, bought some back here. And I also, truthfully, if I'm being completely honest, I bought some back here too. So I'm like positive, but not tremendously positive. But it is what it is. I bought it sort of as a longer term investment, by the way, too. So it wasn't like a trade where I just held on to it forever. I bought some down here as an investment. I bought some before as an investment. I'm just holding it for now because I do think that gold right now has that potential, like I said, to head up to 1950 or maybe even beyond. Let's see what else we can get into. Let's take a look at Gbp Jpy. This one was just a massive runner last week. And I know a lot of people are probably itching to get themselves into this trade here. But I would just say, just be careful. I had an alert here. You can see I wanted to get involved, but I never actually got the pullback. We saw this extension. I said, well, maybe if this thing comes down, then I could look, but then it just said, nope, we're going higher. So a lot of yen weakness last week, which I'm a fan of because I'm pretty bearish on the yen. If you've been watching my channel for a while, I have a fundamental bias to the downside on the yen, especially in a risk-on environment. People are usually selling the yen during times of optimism in markets, which seems to be the case right now. Until that changes, until that narrative comes swinging back around, which it will at some point or another, maintaining that bearish focus on the yen. We'll take a look at one more yen currency pair. We'll take a look at Aussie Yen, which has been an interesting one to watch because the Aussie has been pretty weak. We'll take a look at AUD USD in just a moment, but let's cover this one first. So Aussie Yen still holding its own. It's still putting in those higher lows and finding demand and pushing off these levels. But again, struggling to really get past these resistance points at the time being. Watch this one. If Aussie strength comes in, this one could be a very good candidate for a push up to the recent high. Let's cover also AUD USD. This one I do think is still headed to my target that I talk about on streams, which is 0.8. Now, I think that is sort of a yearly target, like the end of the year, still thinking that we could get to 0.8. And so right now, watching this low, watching these pullback zones, as potential buying areas, but I'm just being cautious because this thing has been in such a range-bound market that until this dynamic really changes, I think that, Aussie dollar is not the best place for me to be trading. I'd really like to see this thing show me some signs of breaking, and then there may be some great opportunities for long continuations on this. If we back out just a little bit to the daily chart, you'll see you've got this long-term uptrend that I think wants to continue. And just based on, again, another thing where we're in a risk-on environment, the dollar seems weak to me. It's not the most interesting thing to be buying, in my opinion. So something like the Australian dollar versus the US dollar seems like an interesting buy because you've got the Aussie, which is very benefited from a global recovery and things looking good in the worldwide economy because of their highly trade-based economy as well as resources. It's kind of like Canada, which we'll talk about as well. Dollar CAD is very, very interesting as well because it's been in such a strong downtrend off of the back of the fact that US or oil in general has actually really rebounded, right? You have this economy that is very focused on oil. They have a lot of oil up there in that great white north, you know? So they are benefited from a world where we are going back to normal and things are, you know, they need oil for the ships that go around the world and cars and planes and everything, right? So Canada has profited very well from that situation and things look very good for the CAD. That is why I am incredibly bullish on the CAD and have been for months. And so, you know, I actually took a trade this week on the short side of dollar CAD. This one I was in and out of. I shorted here and basically covered right around here. You know, if I had known it was going to drop again, I would have held it, but it is what it is, right? You can't, there's no knowing with certainty what's going to happen next in the markets, but I ended up shorting here, right on this resistance point that I saw back here, and then held onto that trade here into Friday where I closed out for a profit, made some good money on that and shared that inside of the private group. So again, by the way, what I said earlier, tune in, join the Discord if you have any interest in working with myself. If you like my style, if you like my content, I highly encourage you to come jump in on the conversation, get involved with us, do some of the work with us. We got a lot of people in there that we're trying to, you know, we're trying to bring people into the group that seriously not only are benefited from the group, but they also benefit the group itself. We're trying to attract like-minded, serious, down-to-earth people who are not, you know, just there to, oh, I just want to copy and make a bunch of money. Like, that's not what we're interested. We're interested in finding, you know, stand-up people that sort of bring our group and our entire community to another level. So if you're interested in joining, like I said, there's a link and info in the description for that 40% off sale, which is ending very soon. So yeah, dollar CAD looking interesting. Would I sell it again if it came up to this level? I really wanted to see it just break through the lows. So I might be a little bit pickier and look for more retracement. Another level of retracement on the higher time frames that looks interesting to me is going to be this level here at the 38.2% retracement on the Fibonacci retracements. I have a video on Fib retracements. If you don't know about them, if you're confused by them, then just look up on YouTube, Trader Nick Fibonacci retracements, and that should help you out. But again, I like that idea of a retracement there. If we can get, you know, some dollar strength this week, depending on what happens with NFP and everything that comes in the news, we could see a stronger dollar. And if it does come in stronger, there might be opportunities to actually sell into that strength. So just some ideas there. I think that the US dollar, like I said, still has some problems until the Fed really changes their narrative with interest rates and inflation. So with that said, we'll take a look at USD CHF, still talking about the dollar. This one I have no interest in trading because if I was to short the dollar, I'd rather short it against something that has more potential than the Swiss franc. I'm pretty bearish on the Swiss franc as well, just because this thing is just not, it has a negative 0.75 interest rate. So that the Swiss National Bank offers negative 0.75. What that means is that if you stick money in their banks, you lose money each year. So they have an incentivized like reason for people who have money in the Swiss banks to push them somewhere else. So what that means is sell them, get rid of it, you know, devalue the currency. And actually, one of the things that's interesting about the Swiss National Bank is that they actually are trying purposefully to devalue their own currency for the trade war advantage that yields. Think about China. China has a much weaker currency than some of the other places in the world on purpose. It allows us to buy their products easier because here in the US, our US dollars go a long way in China, right? Because their currency is weaker, so we're able to buy their products. So they ship us products, we do business with them. That's actually good for them, right? So that is very important to an exporting country or all countries who are trying to export more. So the Swiss National Bank, for the advantage of trade war, they're trying to devalue their currency. So what that means is that they want this currency to go, or this currency pair up. So they're going to do what they can. And again, with the US quite, you know, sold off recently, it wouldn't be surprising if we got any bullish news on the dollar to see something like this. So again, not a super interesting currency pair to me to buy right now or sell, just because at the same time, I'm not very bullish on the dollar either until we see signs of news. This is what I mean by combining fundamentals and technicals, by the way, guys. I wouldn't sell this thing just because it's at resistance or something like that. I need to know that, you know, there's a catalyst, there's a reason behind why this thing could go higher or lower. Dollar yen, however, looked really interesting because the yen is very weak right now. They're struggling with lockdowns, et cetera, things like that. So, maybe pullback opportunities could be something of interest here on the dollar yen going higher, maybe pushing up to that 111 that we saw back in March of this year. So again, just some ideas there. Yeah, I'm bearish on the yen here. I'm not bullish on the dollar, but I am more bullish on the dollar than the yen, if that makes sense. There's like a tier list of things that I'd want to buy versus things that I'd want to sell. But anyways, let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about here, guys. I did want to say, if you like the COT reports, make sure to check this out and join our COT data newsletter. We have a team of people that put content out, and if you want to get on that, you can join for free here over on the website. Just head over to a1trading.com, go to COT reports, and you can look up the COTs for anything that you'd like. You can also see retail Forex sentiment, things like that. So check it out, and hope you enjoy that. Again, like I said, guys, last time, 40% off the gold membership ends this week. So I'm saying it over and over again because, again, that is very rare for us to do that much of a discount. So if you're interested in joining it, now is your chance. With that said, guys, thank you very much. I hope you have a great trading week. Be safe, trade safe, and we'll see you